Hey guys, today we're going to look at solving different percent problems. So quick reminder, percents are always out of 100. And we're going to have these things called percent statements. A percent statement is going to look something like this. It'll say 25% of 20 is 5. Obviously we'll have different numbers each time, but every percent statement will have a percent. It will have a whole number and then a part or a partial. Okay. So we're going to be asked questions like this. What number is 25% of 50? And sometimes we don't know when we have questions like this. Do I multiply? Do I divide? Like, what's the best plan of action to solve? So I'm going to show you what I call the is over of method. And it's a sure way to solve these sort of questions in a similar manner every single time. So every time we have one of these percent statements, we'll have a percentage. So we're going to put that percent over 100. And we're going to set it equal to another fraction. And we're going to put a number that corresponds to the is in the statement over the number that corresponds to the of. And that'll make sense in a minute. So this is a proportion. We would solve it by cross multiplying and dividing like we've been working on. So what number is 25% out of 25% of 50? So my first fraction is that percent. We know we have 25% and 25 is always, percentages are always out of 100. So our first fraction is 25 over 100. Then we have is and of. Well, we don't have a number associated with the is, but 50 corresponds to the of. So is over of. We don't know our is, so I label that as x, and of is 50. So I'm going to cross multiply 25 times 50 and divide by 100. I get 12.5. So we're going to look at a couple more examples that just practice this is over of method. What number is 125% of 64? So same type of problem. This time we do have a percentage over 100, which is okay. First fraction is still percent over 100, so 125 over 100. And then this says of 64, and since it's of, it's going to go on the bottom, and our variable is going to go on top. So 125 times 64 divided by 100 gives us x equals 80. So 80 over 64 would give us 125%. Okay, here's another one. 15 is what percent of 45? This time we don't know what percent, so our first fraction is x over 100 since we're looking for that percentage. Now we have 15 is and of 45. So 15 goes on top, 45 on the bottom. Cross multiply and divide. We get 33.3 or 33 1/3%. Right? And finally, I'd like you guys to solve 60 is 125% of what number?